stool very quickly for a second. So my talk is the modern day fears Matt Damon and the correct use of 4-letter words. Draw what you will from that. But just quickly, why are you guys here? Because you could be doing anything on a Thursday night. It's nice, it's barbecue weather, and you've come to a talk on fear and how to get rid of that. So is that an issue for you guys, or is there anything particular that you're looking for an answer for tonight? Anyone? Alright, so I'm good at mind reading, so it's fine. So I'm going to answer every single one of your questions that you've got in your head, and if I don't, then I think we have a few minutes at the end for questions, right?
Yep.
Cool. So, as Matt said, how do I drive this thing? Just hit across?
Click next, yeah.
Magic. So this is me. As Matt said, I'm the author of Next Persuasion. This is some book on sales. I've been training salespeople for about 11 years. One of my original students may be in this room tonight as well. I'll let you guess who that was. I spent a lot of time in the personal development world, so I promoted seminars and motivational speakers, and I was the kind of guy in the back of the room making sure there was enough people in there. So I've been lucky to spend my time, I guess, with some of the best brains on the planet. It's very cool. It was a good couple of years just hanging out and just brainstorming with people. You know, when you kind of go into the back room and the trainer says to you, so what should we do in the next session? You're like, I thought you knew what we were doing. No. Now, this is me, I guess, over on the left-hand side. So I spend some of my time being corporate. So I train sales teams. I'm training at Nike next week, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. I've gotten playing with Lego. As you do. And then the rest of the time I spend traveling. I kind of have a fairly nice life balance. My business is set up in a way that I don't have to. I can be based anywhere with a laptop or an internet, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I guess, to some extent. And then I do spend time driving. So if somebody asked me my claim to fame earlier, I'm also a Tom Cruise lookalike. There is a few Tom Cruise references. This is not a joke. So there are a few Tom Cruise references throughout this evening. For those of you who get them, bonus points. But the little mini picture at the top there is me as Mission Impossible driving a speedboat down the Thames, and that is shortly before I got arrested. Because apparently you don't drive a speedboat pointing guns at people in London. That's not something you do. Who'd have thought? Anyway, enough about that. Question: what search term returns 108 million pages on Google? So my other business is I'm in marketing and I'm in digital and websites and all that crap. So this is semi-interesting to me. But quick guess: what search term returns 108 million pages worth of content on Google? Any ideas?
Fair.
Man. Come on, at least get. No, I'm joking. It's not that at all. That would have been a great guess, but a really shit topic. Sorry, I'm going to use a couple of 4-letter words as an indicator on topic. Anybody else? 108 million pages on Google.
Sex.
Maybe we change the M to trillion potentially. No, it's not. It's a subject that I guess for me. And this, for me tonight, by the way, this is super fun for me, so apologies for drinking, but I don't normally get to do this when I'm training in business. It's normally before. Sorry. So this is me letting my hair down a little bit and having a little bit of fun. So I'm going to play around with you and kind of drop some ideas in, if that's okay. But 108 million page views is a topic that I've been having conversations about a lot lately, both with clients in workplaces, but a lot with friends as well. And they just say to me, you know what, Dan? I'm bored. I don't know if any of you experienced this, but does anybody here live in Southsea? I love Google. So there's certain things I love about Google. One of the things is predictive search. So if you type in bored of into Google, the first thing it suggests is Southsea. That must be a terrible place if you've ever been there. From there, I apologise. But Board of Life has 108 million pages searched for it every single day. Now, I don't know about you, we live in London, right? There's quite a lot of stuff to do out there. You know, not just meet-up groups, but there's within 100 meters of this place, there's bars, there's clubs, there's all sorts of things to go and do. So why are so many people bored? And if you look at the search term at the bottom, which is just even more depressing, Bored of Life and I Want to Die, there's 21 plus million pages on that. It's crazy. And these are not people, so when I have conversations, these are not people who are suicidal and depressed. These are people who are successful. And they're just like, oh, I'm bored. Geez, why? So I kind of started asking the question, why are we bored? Why are we bored? Any ideas?
Maybe using online.
We're not using online, potentially? Yeah?
We have too much choice today.
Too much choice? Absolutely. We'll talk about Facebook in a minute.
That kind of hooks into what I was going to say, but I think media giving us an unrealistic idea of what our life should be like, so Facebook and things like that, saying, hey look, I'm having a fantastic life, you should too.
Exactly. I love Facebook. I spend far too much time on it, but it does have that, oh, everybody's at the airport. Why am I not at the airport? Even though, I might be going there tomorrow, but I'm just, I'm depressed already because everybody else seems to put their highlights on Facebook. So absolutely. Anything else? Why would we be bored? Yes.
Not enough challenge.
Not enough challenge. Absolutely. Why? There's a million challenges out there.
Well, we live in 21st century where everything is just in the reach of the finger.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
It's too easy, right?
Yeah.
It really is. And this is the thing. So everything is easy. We don't, we're comparing ourselves to everybody else. The reason we don't, or we get bored, is because we don't take any risks anymore. Nothing is challenging. Nothing is difficult. We kind of get into this rut and we're like, oh, is this all there is? And then everybody else shows us how great their life is. And we're just like, oh, so this all there is? Plus everybody else is having a better time? Jeez, life sucks. So I was just mentioning over there, I'm talking about fear and stuff tonight. I'd really rather talk about far more positive talk, but I'm going to try and keep it a little bit lighthearted rather than depress you guys and so you go out and add 108,000,001 search pages to this. So let's talk about fear. Let's talk about fear. There is no such thing as fear anymore, by the way. You guys are not scared of anything, which is ironic because we're talking about fear, but I did say contemporary fear, okay? So it's this fear. This is one of my favorite books of all time. Anybody read this?
Not yet.
Not yet? Add it to your list. So it's by Napoleon Hill. Many of you will have read Think and Grow Rich.
Definitely.
Anybody read that?
Yeah.
Because it's the interactive part.
Yeah.
Anybody read that? Okay, cool. So one person with a working arm, the rest of you are just gonna smile. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, read Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read this book, read this book, okay? Think and Grow Rich is kind of one of the all-time classics. This has, I guess, the explanation in depth behind Think and Grow Rich and why that works. And there's one particular part where Napoleon Hill, who studied some of the most successful people in the past, identified 7 fears. These are the only 7 fears, and I think it was 1945, and he'd been studying for, say, 30 years, so the early 1900s. These were the fears that came up, but these don't exist anymore. So fear of poverty, we live in London, right? People come to this country to live on welfare, to be the poorest people in this country, because it's the richest place in the world. Even the poorest people, it's crazy, you can't be scared of poverty. Scared of criticism, we're criticised every single day. We turn on Facebook, it's like, I don't like that. Ugh. Justin Bieber has the most hated video on YouTube. Do you know that? You can down like things on YouTube. So we're faced with criticism all the time. You can't be scared of it. It's just part of life. Ill health. We have a free health service for the moment. So you can get treated. You haven't got to worry about health, really, and we're fairly healthy. There's kind of new medicines and treatments coming out all the time. Loss of love. Loss of love is kind of back in the day. It was one of those things. Divorce and that kind of stuff was frowned upon. Now it's accepted. Now we're kind of, we're later getting into relationships, single, breakups, nuclear family doesn't exist, all of that stuff. We haven't got to be scared of that anymore, it's just accepted. And the fear of loss of liberty, we live in the freest time ever. You have freedom of speech, you can go out, pretty much say whatever you want. You can go and stand on the corner there and shout whatever you want. Or you can go onto YouTube, or you can go on Facebook, or wherever, Twitter, and say anything you want. So loss of liberty really doesn't apply to us either. And then old age and death, but for you guys, most of, we're all young. There's more important stuff to be worried about first, right? So we can deal with old age and stuff if we get there. So really, what do we have to be scared of? What do we have to be scared of? So we're not challenging ourselves, but we're not scared of anything, so what do we do stuff? Weird, right? So it comes down to fear. There are fears. There are still fears, but they're contemporary fears. And so I tried to figure this out. What are we actually scared of? If we don't do things, why don't we do them? We have motivation. You guys are all motivated. You got up off your backsides, came, unless you work in here. Can you work in here, in that office? Some of you are having after-work drinks. So you're motivated to come and do something. So we're motivated. So why don't we do the things that we actually want to do and that we know we want to do? So there must be an element of fear, right? Even if it's not one of these fears of kind of really serious stuff. So this is what I said is contemporary fear. Now I'm a perfectionist. Okay, anybody else here perfectionist? Use that as an excuse. Oh, that face I've seen happen. Anybody perfectionists use that as an excuse not to do things? Okay, so I'm going to be talking to you. It's like, oh, I don't want to be a perfectionist, but I am. So a lot of these apply to me. And we were just having a quick chat. I wrote this as a blog post a while back and then recorded it today, and I was listening back to it and went, oh, that's pretty good. So if I actually amaze myself with some of my, that's terrible. How bad is that? But some of this, by the way, tonight there's going to be some gems that come out. I just have no idea when. That may have been one. But we're going to talk about the 3 different types of fear. And they're not really fears, they're more, I guess, justifications. Okay? Because there's nothing scary out there anymore. There's no saber-toothed tigers that we need to be scared of. There's none of these real fears. So what our brain does is when we're not doing something, it invents stuff. It comes up with ideas and things that we can be scared of. So let's have a look at what they might be. So why don't we try new things? It's because we're a little bit scared, but it's not the contemporary fear. So the first one is fear of starting. And I put a couple of little, if you read that bottom line, if that sounds like something you would say, then this is probably one of the things getting in your way. So fear of starting. If I'm not good at it already, I'm probably better at something else. Sound familiar? Yeah, anybody not tried something because, well, I'm pretty good at this already, so I don't need to try that. We kind of get stuck in our rut. Maybe we haven't tried a new job that we want to apply for, something along those lines, try a new skill, talent. This is something that kind of I get quite a lot. Fear of starting something new. What was I going to say on this one? I have no idea. I'll come back to it. Normally have mind blanks. It's probably too much beer. But it's the fear of starting something. We don't try something new. We don't get there because we look at it and we think, if I was naturally good at something, yeah, then I would have done it already. I've been discovered. I would be a child prodigy. Well, imagine this. If you were a child prodigy, let's say you're one of those musically gifted people, but you grew up in a family that had no access to musical instruments. What would that be? What if you were Usain Bolt, right? Usain Bolt, okay? Undoubtedly one of the most genetically gifted athletes on the planet. And imagine if he grew up in a family that all they like to do is just watch TV in the evenings. Yeah? Or if you were the next Stephen Hawking, but you didn't have access to a telescope or something along those lines. Yeah? There are things now, I can promise you, that you are good at, that you have no idea. You have dormant talents, you have latent abilities that are just lying there dormant, just waiting for you to tap into them. Now, I don't know what they are, unfortunately. I wish I could kind of go around and we don't have genetic reading down to that level to know exactly what you're good at. But you should try new things. But not trying new things is a habit. Now, one of the things I'm kind of studying a little bit more about and finding very interesting at the moment is this concept of neuroplasticity. Anybody heard of this? This is the concept that we can rewire our brains. Okay, so my background is actually in fitness and training the body. It turns out you can do exactly the same thing with the brain. If you kind of do exercises for the brain, you can get it to condition itself. So not taking risks, not trying something new, continually trains your brain not to want to do something new. Scary, right? So flip it, if we do lots of new things, we can actually train our brain to want to do new things. So here's my challenge to you for this one. Do something new. Hands up. Hands up who goes to prep in the daytime and buys the same salad / roll / wrap every single time. Dab with hoisin sauce. Yeah. It happens, right? Try something new. I promise you, there's other stuff out there that is just as nice. Or how many of you have watched a movie or a series? Friends, lovers will know this one. You watch the same thing over and over again. Or you listen to the same piece of music over and over again. Okay? Try something new. I've just gone to Spotify. And they have this, what's the bit where it kind of recommends new listening? That bit. Let's find a new button. Because I've just listened to the same playlist over and over, because I like it. But there's other stuff out there, right? There's other stuff out there. So fear of starting, it's an epidemic. It's something that we don't do because we're a bit scared. The next one kind of comes into the concept where we said it's too easy. Everything. Fear of wasted effort. So the justification for this one is if I'm not good at it immediately, it probably means I'm better at something else, so I should try something else. Have you ever tried to play the guitar or take up tennis? So I recently picked up the guitar. I set myself a challenge. Learn the guitar, and particularly one song, which is extremely more than words, in 30 days. Okay, 30 days to learn the guitar, at least one song on the guitar. Right? That shouldn't be too tough. Okay, I've seen people play the guitar. So I picked it up for the first couple of days. I made massive improvements, like literally going from 0 to knowing what chord it was, and kind of my hands made more than just that shape. I could actually make 3 shapes, it turns out. And then so after about 2 or 3 days of practicing When the Saints Come Marching In, I realized that I was still playing When the Saints Come Marching In. I was still playing the same tune, and my fingers were still moving at the same speed because it didn't sound like it. You know, you have that kind of 30-second gap while you move your fingers manually into the new chord. So we do this, right? And nature sets us up for failure in this element. We have this fear of wasted effort, is that we have some immediate success, and then we get to a point where that all slows down. We hit a plateau, we hit a glass ceiling of some kind, and then we go, oh, well, it's obviously not for me. So we kind of, at that point, and this is where arrogance kicks in. And this is where arrogance and ego says, well, you know, it should be easier than this. Everything else is easy nowadays. I can just pick it up. In fact, I don't even need to play the guitar. And you just start justifying yourself, saying, oh, I'm already good at this, and you know, if I really want to play guitar, I'd probably started earlier, so I must have been good at something else. So we start to justify our way back to normal. See what I mean? So even if you do start, if you do try something new, then the ego and the arrogance kicks in and says, wait. Because the reason being is, what if we put in all this effort? What if we put in all this effort and it turns out we're actually not very good at it? What happens if you spend, what did they say, 10,000 hours to become a master or something? What happens if I put 10,000 hours into playing the guitar and it turns out I'm just really not very good at playing the guitar? I probably won't bother. So to see how we go straight back to that original standpoint. So we're not scared of anything, it's just justifications. There's no fear, it's just the fear of missing out. What am I going to miss out on? I don't know, I've got a bit more time to do something else. But this is this fear of wasted effort. So the last fear is the fear of success. And I was having a chat with a colleague yesterday morning. And she is very successful. She's been promoted all the way through the ranks at Vodafone. She's just taken on an L&D director role at another company. And she's Australian. Don't know if that has any bearing on anything, but it may do. I'll let you be the judge of it. She got promoted right from call center advisor through to learning and development director over the course of like 14 years. And the way she did it was she would look at the job description of the job she wanted to go for. So she would look at the role and she would discuss it with her friends, and there would be, say, 10 points on the list, 5 of which she could do, 5 of which she couldn't. She would have the same conversation with other friends, 5 of which they could do, 5 of which they couldn't. They would look at the list and say, there's 5 things I can't do on that, I'm not going to apply for that. Yeah? Because what if I get there and I can't do it? Her approach, and again, I don't know if it's an Australian thing, Australians seem to be a little bit more brash and open for messing themselves up. They would look at it and go, oh, there's 5 things I can do, I'm going to go for that role. There's no Australians in here, is there? Have I offended half of the room? No? Fine. I've come back from their country just recently, so I've offended all of them in person. So I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed anybody out. So here's this thing. We're afraid to try something because what happens if we get there and it turns out that we're not very good? We've gone through this whole journey and then we finally arrive and we suck. Oh. So there's this concept of we're fear of success or failure at the next level, some people call it. Okay. So these are fears, but they're not really fears. There's nothing to be scared of. Fear is a physiological reaction to something that's coming up and scaring you. Yeah, it's there to protect you. These are just your brain playing little tricks on you. And it's habit. It's habit. And your job, as a result, at the end of this kind of, the whole talk, and 2 of us are going to be talking about fear and how to get over it, is to do something different. And my suggestion to you is to try new little things, try little starting points, put effort into it, realize that you've got, at some point you were terrible at whatever you do now and you got better at it. So put the effort in and challenge yourself, bite off more than you can chew and find out if you can chew it anyway. Yeah? So that's fear. It wasn't too scary, right? So those are contemporary fears. What have we got left? We've got Matt Damon and we've got correct use of the 4-letter words. Let's move on to those. So I think you're going to be talking more about how to get over fear. I don't want to cannibalize on that too much, so I'm going to whiz through this. But we do have Matt Damon. Any Matt Damon fans? A couple of guys in the back. Sorry, your secrets are safe at the moment. So we're going to talk about this. So bravery is the opposite of fear. To get over fear, you have to have an element of bravery or courage. And I've kind of figured out, there's 3 types of bravery. So we're going to look at those. And I guess it depends on how long you need to be brave for. Because being brave enough to do a bungee jump, is that the same as being brave enough to ask a girl for a dance? Why would you have to play music at the point I'm saying ask for a dance? I'm going to get all embarrassed and shy and scared. But is it? That must be because one, you're kind of jumping off of the platform, and one, you've got to walk across the dance floor. And what about the courage it takes to be an artist and live a life as an artist? Are they all 3 different things? So I kind of figured out there was 3 types of bravery. Matt Damon helped me on this. Matt Damon helped me with one of the credits, so I'm going to give him that. But it is about getting outside your comfort zone. So you have to be brave. You have to take more risks, and that's what we're going to talk about. So this comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. You can take risks like, I don't know, jumping off a building with a parachute. If you're not good at, if at first you don't succeed, avoid skydiving. If you're into biking, you can kind of do it on sheer cliffs, that's crazy. Don't take risks that are considered to be in the Darwin Awards. Has anybody ever heard of the Darwin Awards? Google it. It's basically people who take risks and then eliminate their genes from the gene pool because they were stupid risks. So check that. So the first one is a moment of bravery. A single one moment of bravery. So for example, ripping off a plaster, jumping into a cold swimming pool, which I hate, and I always dip my toe. Bungee jump, something like that. Something that is really short in terms of the bravery that you need. Because once you've made that initial leap, there's no changing your mind. Okay, now bear in mind, I teach all 3 of these in one seminar I do, which has a board break, a rod bend in here, and a firewalk. So if any of you have done this, this is the board break element. And a board break is just one single commitment to push your hand straight through a piece of wood. That's all you need to do. And it's that single moment. So to be brave for a single moment, for a second, for less than a second, just that element of commitment that says, I'm going to jump, or whatever it is, comes down to your emotional state. And you have to be in a positive physiology. And has anybody seen the Amy Cuddy talk on TED? Check it out. I'll send you the link and kind of post it out. But Amy Cuddy did this study of people who have great physiology. If you watch the Olympics, for example, you can see who's going to win by the way they line up on the start line. Right? So physiology is important. But the most important thing, I think, potentially for this is focus. Okay, and how you direct your mind. Okay? And there's one question you need to ask, especially when you look at this. And I'm going to take the example of jumping into a cold pool because I hate it and it always takes me forever. But the question to ask is, what's the worst that can happen? Okay? What's the worst that can happen? If you jump into a cold pool, you're going to be a little bit cold for a bit. If you're going to rip a plaster off your arm, it's going to sting for a little bit, but there's no major consequences. Okay? So if you're facing something that has minimal consequences, then use that. What's the worst that can happen? Redirect your brain for a moment and just get on with it. If something has slightly greater consequences, let's say a bungee jump or a parachute jump or something like that, where there is the opportunity of death, this is where the 4-letter word comes in. And you simply just say, fuck it. Okay. Science has been proved. No, just say fuck it, just do it anyway. Honestly, most of these things are scientifically tested, you'll be fine. So that's the one moment of bravery. What's the worst that can happen? Or fuck it, just do it anyway. Okay? The next one is where Matt Damon comes in. Has anybody seen the film We Bought a Zoo? So cute. You're not a big fan, are you?
No, it's cute.
Oh, it's cute. So in this, I'm going to read this. Matt Damon comes up with a quote. He's talking to his son, I think, about how he met his son's mother, his girlfriend, and he says, you know, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage, just literally 20 seconds of embarrassing bravery, and I promise you something great will come from it. I've been to a nightclub or a disco, do they call them disco still? For a little while. And I remember when I was younger, just about, nightclubs and discos would have a slow song that come on at the end. They don't do this anymore. Does anybody remember that? They would put on those two love yeah, you know what I'm talking about. They would put 2 love songs on at the end for people like me, okay? For people like me who've been hanging out with their mates, looking at the girl across the dance floor and going, you know what, I'm going to go and ask her for a dance. Yeah, I'm going to go and ask her for a dance. And what happens is you get your one moment of bravery and they go, go on, go on, go on. And you're like, yes! Don't get nervous. and you start off walking and you're there, you're psyched up, you're super psyched, you get about halfway and you're like, oh, I need to go to the toilet. Something comes in, you come back to your mates, you're like, oh, you know, did you ask her? No, I need to do something. And you're like, okay, well this time you can do it, this time you can do it. And you're like, yes, yes, yes. And you walk over, I'm going to get there in a minute, aren't I? You walk over and you look down at your glass and think, oh, I need another drink. And you kind of come up with about 1 million interruptions on your way over because that single moment of bravery isn't enough. Okay, it's not enough. So there has to be something else. So you can't just get into a positive state and rah-rah yourself up. I don't know if you've ever had this personally, but a guy's like super psyched, comes over, hello, please me, and it doesn't work. I've tried. So there has to be something else. There has to be a different way of doing it. And what happens is our internal voice kicks in. Somewhere between there and there, our little internal voice starts chatting to us and it asks us a whole bunch of questions, usually starting with, what if? Yeah? So as I'm walking over, it's like, oh, what if she doesn't understand me? What if she laughs at me? What if I mumble my words? What if And we have all of these questions come up. Anybody been to a theme park recently? On towers, Thorpe Park, one that doesn't crash. I think you'll find this happening a lot more. Is people are fine when they're queuing up, they're telling all these jokes, but when they get into the last little bit, when it's their turn to sit on the ride, that's when it kicks in, right? The voices in the head just start going, oh, what if it crashes? What if my legs need to be amputated or something like that? It's probably even worse for these people now, right? So it's that element. So to get over this, you can't just psych yourself up. You can't, because either you're A, be exhausted by the time you get there and look like an idiot, but it just doesn't work. Similarly, you can't shut that voice off. It doesn't go anywhere. I promise you, I've tried for years. My internal voice is still there, all the time. Even though we know all these little cute tricks for hypnosis and NLP and stuff, it's always going to be there. You can change it, you can make it quieter, you can make it sound like Mickey Mouse, which helps. But it won't go away. So the question to ask, you can have a little argument with it. They say, okay, well, what happens if it doesn't? That's the question. So I'm walking over there. What happens if she laughs at you? Okay, well, what happens if she doesn't? We might have a nice conversation. It might go really well. Or maybe I'm queuing up on a ride, the Hulk, at Universal Studio. I love the Hulk. It goes up and it shoots forward. Oh, spoiler. What happens if it breaks? What happens if it doesn't? What happens if it's the most amazing roller coaster ride in the world ever? You're gonna have a great experience. So you have to use your mind to overcome the internal voices. So Matt Damon, just remember him, 20 seconds of just bravery, courage. The last one, and I guess this is a question, is, it's another movie reference. You a fan? Or was that just you were stretching and yawning and just trying to make it look like it? This is my favorite movie. All right, it's going to be this. That's my second favorite. There's another favorite, but this is my favorite. Hitch uses this line, and he says, like I always tell my clients, begin each day as if it were on purpose. Begin each day as if it were on purpose. So is there an element of bravery that kind of relates to a life on purpose versus being brave enough to do a bungee jump or ask a girl for a dance? Is that a different kind of bravery? What kind of yes and no? If you're a business owner, is there a different kind of bravery to be a business owner than an employee? Yes. You have to sell, you have to do all of the elements that go within business. So you still have to be able to do the one moment of bravery if you're making a call, you have to have the 20 seconds of courage, you still have to have that. But living a life on purpose is different. It's about having a calling, it's about having a passion, it's about having a belief and a purpose. And the challenge with this, so if you're a business owner, if you're an artist, or if you're trying to do something that goes against the grain, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to get out. Okay? A lot of opportunities. I don't know any business owners that have never questioned the concept of paid holiday. Yeah, it's like, oh, paid holiday, amazing. Or not taking your laptop with you and working every single morning whenever you can get a Wi-Fi connection. It happens, okay? There's always going to be a call to take the easier path. Yeah, artists who are struggling to pay the bills, but they're committed to being an artist, but then have to kind of jump out and get a job. It's challenging, it happens all the time. So living a life on purpose is about passion and about commitment to a cause and about avoiding the easy path. And this is going to be a challenge. We're faced with ease, everything is made easier for us, right? So this is the challenge. That's the final element of bravery, is living a life on purpose. So I'm going to, like Jerry Springer, leave you with a few final thoughts, because I think I've probably overstayed my welcome, and you may have some questions. First one is enjoy the journey. I have tried to learn this lesson for years. I thought I learned it, I hadn't. Keep relearning it. It's about the journey. We are never ultimately going to get there, and even when we do, we set another goal to mean we're moving on. And just like this guy, and I've driven roads just like this through the Alps. If you're constantly focused on the road, you are going to miss so much amazing stuff going on around you. You really are. Okay? And life, by the way, you have no idea what life has in store for you. And all the challenges and all the things that you're scared of right now, all they're doing is serving to make you stronger for some point in the future when that's all going to come to a single point where you're like, holy shit, that's why I needed that. So enjoy the journey. I don't have any kind of great insight into that. It's an impossible lesson to learn. It's just something you have to keep reminding yourself of all the time. The second one is don't take yourself so seriously. That's right, I am Batman. We are going to get stuff terribly wrong, and if I did bring my guitar and I did try and play for you the first 3 seconds of Extreme More Than Words, then it would sound terrible, but you know what, I'm over that. I'm also learning Robin Thicke, Lost Without You. Yeah, I'm into about 2 seconds of that, so I can play 5 seconds of 2 songs. I know you're impressed. But don't take yourself so seriously. I was going to put a stock photo up, and I thought, no, put a photo of you looking like an idiot. So that's me, and those aren't my real ears. So try not to take yourself seriously. And the last one, and I thought, how can you end a talk on fear and a talk on overcoming fear positively? Okay. So I wanted to put this quote up. This is my other favourite movies. It's this, Hitch, and Vanilla Sky. And Vanilla Sky's got so many elements in it. If you get the chance to watch it, then do. But cry at movies, all right? And the reason I say cry at movies, and you know, guys and girls alike, okay? I cry almost every movie, even The Terminator. Okay, but associate, be in the moment. So many people will watch a movie and they'll just kind of detach themselves and watch it from an objective point of view. Don't. Dive, jump in, get into the emotions, and do it. So I'm going to leave you with my favourite line, and that is, you can do whatever you want with your life, but one day you'll know what love truly is. It's the sour and the sweet. And I know the sour, which allows me to appreciate the sweet. Thank you very much. I've had a lot of fun.